These items were brought back by a GI that went back to Vietnam in 1995. And basically, he just kind of was scrounging around on the beaches and in the dirt where they used to have bases, and he found this stuff. And like this is known as a Ho Chi Minh sandal. Ho Chi Minh was president of North Vietnam. And they're made from tires. These are actually the cords in a tire, and there are holes here where there used to be ropes coming across. So basically, they're flip-flops. Unfortunately, this is glued down where you can't see it, but there you can still feel the tire tread on the back of this. You could buy a pair of those for $1. And this is just pieces. That's from an M60 machine gun belt, some rusted barbed wire from the perimeter fence, and pieces of metal from PSP, which is perforated steel plating that was used to make temporary runways and stuff on bases. It came in huge rolls. I've had more stories about this, though. This is a front piece of a claymore mine. A claymore mine was a directional mine. That's why it has these very explicit instructions, front towards enemy. Now, a lot of these were used by what's known as long-range patrols, and they would go out for a few days or sometimes weeks into the jungle looking for the enemy, and they would set up a perimeter of these. These had little stands that came with them, and they could mount these around where they camped in the evening. And they were set off by tripwires, or they were set off by somebody pushing a button. So whoever had the watch, they had to be careful and stay alert and fire these if they came in. These fired out in an arc. And basically what you had was a piece of C4 explosive in the back and a lot of ball bearings in the front. And they would just decimate anything in front of them. Now, when I first started working here, I started talking to veterans that were in the field. And I said, look, I heard that the Viet Cong were good at sneaking into the perimeter and turning these around and then going back into the jungle and making noise, and whoever, if you had a new guy on the trigger, he would blow himself up. And they said, yes, that was an issue. So they said what we would do is we would put a piece of reflective tape right here. So if it got turned around, we could see immediately that it had been turned around. And the other guy said, yes, we did that. And I had a veteran in here, I don't know, a couple of months ago, and I was telling him that story, and he said, damn, I wish they'd have told us that. It sounded like a punchline to a joke, but he said, we didn't do that. But lots of stories about claymores. One thing that they would do is, the guy said, well, we'd open these up and cut a piece of the C4 explosive off and use it to heat up our sea rations. That you could heat a can of stew in about 10 seconds. And another guy said, yeah, we did that so much we disarmed about half of our claymores. So the captain wasn't real happy about that. So, yes. Let's move over to the Navy side over here. We've had a lot of people just kind of show up at the front door and say, hey, you want to display this? Oh, we opened in March, and in April, this guy comes wandering in and says, you guys want some Navy gunnery shells? First question, of course, is, have they been disarmed? And yeah. Well, he was the gunner's mate on this particular destroyer. And this destroyer was involved in shelling an island off of North Vietnam. And being the gunner's mate, he had access to some of this. So what you've got here is a 3-inch shell and a 5-inch shell. And they have another digit after them, and that's the caliber. And only the Navy uses this kind of terminology. A 3-inch 50 meant that this 3 times 50 is 150 inches. That's how long the gun barrel was from the breech where you put it in to the muzzle where it came out. This is a 5-inch 38. So 5 times 38 is 190 inches. So this gun, from the breech to the muzzle, was 190 inches long. That would be these guns right here. Those are 5-inch guns. That's a 3-inch gun right there. So now this is a one-piece shell. This is where the black powder was that sent this flying. Oh, what was that? That's about 8 miles. This was a 2-piece. This was the black powder charge that sent this. You would put this in first, then this, and this would go almost 10 miles. And it weighs 55 pounds. The battleships fired a 16-inch shell, so it was 3 times the size of this in diameter, but they were also about this big. They weighed 1,600 pounds, about the same as a Volkswagen. and they could be fired 25 miles accurately.
Now, how did he have those?
Yeah.
How
That's a
did-
really good question. Never
'Cause
really ask him that.
That's Mr. Martindale, right?
Yes,
Martindale.
yes.
Yeah.
Because my father he brought home some, but they're not that big.
Well,
They're
the Army didn't use
right,
this size.
exactly.
You know, now, something else that was going on that a lot of people don't remember is the Montagnards, which is French for mountain people. They were actually indigenous tribes, much like American Indians or Aborigines in Australia. And frankly, they hated the Vietnamese. They fought the Vietnamese for hundreds of years. And originally, they were coastal people 300 years ago. And the French, not the French, but the Vietnamese chased them up into the mountains where they became mountain people. And when we arrived there, they were still using crossbows as their weapon, and wooden arrows. And if you ever saw the movie Apocalypse Now, you saw a very bad example of how these were used, where they fired at the riverboats using these arrows. These were not any good at long range. They were totally ineffective. What they were good for was in the jungle, in an ambush situation, firing 3 feet from here to you, okay? Then they were very effective. But for whatever reason, they liked us, particularly our special forces, and they worked with them. This is a picture you can't see, but if you look them up on the internet, you'll see that they worked with our special forces people. We armed them, and we went out on patrol with them, and they showed us where the trails were, and they were quite helpful. We did manage to bring some back with us at the end of the war when we pulled out, but we left a lot too. And to this day, the Vietnamese are still trying to wipe them out.
Gosh.
They're still very active up there. I mean, Ken Artis said that they're still living up there,
They are,
right?
they are.
Yeah.
They are still living there, and the Vietnamese still don't like them.